Hi, I'm Veronica Lee. This is your weekly transformational forecast for the week of November 15th, 2021. So I wish I could say, oh, things are going to get a lot easier this week. Softening, but still quite intense as we are moving through what I would say sort of the blender of last week. And specifically, we are trying to really hone in on what is it that is triggering us and how do we make peace with that. In essence, we have been moving through this process for a long time, and there are going to be ebbs and flows. There are going to be times in which energetically things are really tight and contracted, and other times in which there's a little bit of an ease or a break in that work that we're doing collectively and individually. This week feels a little lighter than last week, but there's still that sense of, wait a minute, did you clear everything out after you were blending everything together? And I use that term of blending only because I almost see that, we're throwing a whole bunch of our stuff all together and we're just grinding it up. And the idea is we want to process it, right? We want to be able to move it so that it is easier to melt away, in essence. And so in that processing, there may be chunks of heaviness still left. There may be parts of what we are moving through that don't soften as easily as others. So this may be showing up in terms of, I had mentioned last week, body aches, but in terms of not just body aches, but almost like stuck areas in the body that really are saying, hey, I need some attention. What is it that you are doing to address that need, that call for help? Again, bringing attention and awareness is the first part, and then doing whatever you need to do to take care of, to move that energy so that it doesn't stay stuck in the body. As well, there may be more intense dreams or even nightmares or anything, because again, we're trying to come to a sense of resolution. And what is it that we are trying to resolve? Well, for many of us, we're moving through the lower aspects of our body in our chakra system. So it might be showing up in areas of the mid-chest, mostly toward the back and then downward. Most of what happens when we energetically hook into something or something hooks into us, it'll be collected and then kind of shoved aside, like, okay, let's just deal with this later, and or it's stuff that comes up from our past. So a lot of times this will show up in the back. And then in terms of those lower chakras, the places of, our will, that third chakra, this ability to kind of follow through, but not in a way that is about doing and pushing forward and making things happen, but in essence, learning to surrender to thy will. So a lot of that is being looked at and worked on. The second chakra, which has a lot to do with our sense of our sensuality, our sexuality, and our creativity, is also being triggered as we come to a place in a collective way of really re-understanding this separation between divine feminine, divine masculine, or literal feminine, literal masculine, right? We've had this split for so long of either or, and we've often made ourselves fall into one category or the other and sort of neglected the parts of ourselves that don't align with that. So a lot of that second chakra is really trying to reevaluate and re-understand what it is it feels like to be human and balanced in these aspects. And it relates to creativity. So these creative outlets, these creative expressions that again are outside the box of the norm. And I'm not saying that we all have to go out and be artists and, create, but it really does have us question, how am I using my creative forces? Am I using them in ways that conform and that fit within these standards because this is, acceptable? Or am I using my creativity to be a little bit more empowering for myself in ways that feel most joyful for myself? So I won't give examples, but just feel into that aspect if this is coming up for you. And then finally, the first chakra, the foundational piece, this is a biggie for most of us, right? This is where a lot of our feelings of stability and financial security and our foundation really holds tight, and we want it to hold tight. We want to feel secure. One of the issues that has been happening out there in the world is that people might be losing their jobs, or they might have to be limited in their work because of the various mandates or because of the limitations at work. And so, as we know, over the past 18 months or plus, I think we're going on almost 2 years here with the whole shutdown of everything, that we've had to reevaluate how do we make our way through the world in relation to our work, and how does working or not working impact the stability of living as a human with all my needs met, right? So these are the questions that are coming up. But more importantly are the feelings related to that. And again, that's the second chakra, the feelings of perhaps worthiness, fear, insecurity, right? So by feeling into the feelings and recognizing that they are sort of either trapping us and making us feel more victimized, or they are a part of our healing process that is being honored to move through. So these are what is holding us back in so many ways, and yet we are facing these places of our shadowy stuff, of our past, of our insecurities, of our fears, of our creative solutions, really square on. And it's time for us to take that in with compassion and look more for creative solutions that feel empowering to self. So this is what's going on. It's pretty intense, and yet it is softening in some ways. And at the same time, this is a long-term process. So enjoy, when we do have the ease of those contractions, and really when those intense parts happen, that this is a cue to say, hey, what do I need to look at here? So until next week, enjoy whatever unfolds for you and look at things with a compassionate heart.